Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've been doing well since my last upload, which seems to be now bi-monthly or monthly, or it seems whenever I have time in between class, which isn't very often nowadays, but I'm always happy when I can sit down and get back to recording, and I'm glad today is one of those days. Today I'll be doing something fairly special. 1 year ago, around this time, I uploaded my Yes album tier list, and a lot has changed since then. A new camera, better lighting, better software, just better setup in general. So if you go back and watch that video, you will see a very stark change between then and now, and I'm really happy with the progress that I've made in my not only my video making but the content on the channel itself. And I thought that I would revise my Yes album tier list today. My opinions, believe it or not, can change. So I've been obviously listening to a lot of Yes this past year, and some of my opinions have changed. As you've seen in some of my videos that I have posted after that tier list, giving a more of a in-depth listen to some of the albums that I just kind of went over or kind of pushed to the side because I didn't like them at initial listen. So I'll be sure to share my new opinions and recap the ones that I have already shared. So as you can see, as is on screen right now, was the tier list at the end of that video a year ago. We do have a new Yes album since that video, which is insane to say. I'm so excited and happy that I'm able to say, hey, the new Yes album that came out, it's just cool. It might be a little lame, but you know, just the little things can be happy sometimes, and you know, we take those, and I'm really happy about it. So I will be adding The Quest. I also added Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe, because I did rank that in my last video, but I didn't have it in the tier list itself, so I'll be placing it in there. As well as Fly From Here, Return Trip. I'll just kind of, I have it in the little bottom area that you can't see to put it on the list. I'll just briefly put my thoughts into those. But right now, with what we actually have in the list right now and what I'm going to alter is something that I should have done in the initial video, and for some reason I don't really know why I didn't, and that is put Relayer up in an S tier. I don't know why I didn't. I'm really not sure why, but in all subsequent listens, and all of my appreciation and the different merchandise and stuff I've bought has very much been influenced by Relayer, because at least as of this point in the video, and also very soon after the last video, Gates of Delirium has been my favorite Yes song for most of that time. Obviously, there are different times of appreciation for a bunch of different songs, but as of right now, Gates of Delirium just kind of takes it. Relayer really, I think, to me, is one of the best, if not the best, Yes album. I don't know how controversial of a take that is. I don't think very much so, because I mean, if you're a Yes fan, you appreciate Relayer and what it is and what it did for the band. I think every song off of the album is just absolutely a masterpiece. Obviously, Gates being amazing. To Be Over, the beginning couple minutes of just the beautiful. I'm not entirely sure what instrument it is. I really am not sure. It might be slide guitar, it might be some sort of synth. I'm forgetting at this moment, but I'll put it on screen. I'll look this up later. But it seriously chills even just thinking about it. And Sound Chaser, just the jazz progressive rock fusion of that is just absolutely insane. I could go on forever, but yeah, Relayer deserves a spot up here. I might reorder the tiers themselves, because I mean, yes, I could say that this is the top of the tier is the best and the bottom of the tier is the lowest. That might not necessarily be the case, but maybe we'll go into that depth a little bit later. So yes, rectifying this wrong that I made, Relayer S tier all the way. One that I do kind of want to flip around is the first Yes album. I think it's fantastic. On this list, there's only maybe one album I think is one or two that I think is genuinely bad, but nothing on here I think is, it all could be swapped depending on my mood, and this is my mood right now. So I'm going to put the Yes album down here, and I'm going to put Time in a Word up here. Just thinking of that first initial beginning, I think that the first Yes album is really solid. I wish that I could write stuff that well for a first album, and believe me, I've been trying the past year. I have actually taken up playing bass because of good old Chris Squire, and other bassists I've been listening to from different groups have inspired me to try it myself. But yeah, I wish I could write stuff as good as them in that first album. It's solid. But then I realized, listening through all of this stuff, like Sweetness and Survival are the ones that come to mind from that first album. Absolutely fantastic. But then when I look at what comes after it, I think it deserves to be maybe somewhere in the middle. So like right around here, bottom of here, top of here type dealio. And Time in a Word, I have just come to appreciate so much. So if you haven't given Time in a Word a listen in a little bit, please do. As a favor to yourself and the Yes community, please give it a listen. Specifically, like Astral Traveler, I don't know what it is about it, and I think they use on this track in particular, again, I'm going to correct myself because I'm not entirely sure and I don't want to be spreading false information, but I think that they use the Beatles technique of using a Leslie organ speaker to create that whirring effect of the vocals. I'm going to look that up because I'm not entirely sure, but it is very reminiscent of that fact and similar time frame, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was it. But whatever it is, it sounds amazing. Astral Traveler, of course, I think Then is just amazing. The ending portion, there's a bit of like not an acoustic, but like a slower breakdown portion at the end. I'm not entirely a fan of that. I wish it would have ended maybe 30 seconds earlier, but I'm not going to hold it against the whole song. I think the whole song is fantastic. And Time in a Word, the title track, just amazing. And the messages behind these, just so good. I mean, again, I could talk about each of these for hours, as I did in that first video, which was very long. But yeah, so moving Time in a Word up because, yeah. And then here comes these are the hard decisions, especially up in the top, which I might save for a little bit later. Yeah, well, we'll save the top portions and the meticulous rearrangements for later because that's when I could potentially make enemies. So we'll save that for later. Let's do this now. What I wanted to talk about was Tornado. I was a little harsh on Tornado, maybe a little harsher than I should have been. I really do like Don't Kill the Whale. I do think that this album suffers from a little bit of it's not as timeless as almost all of the ones up top are. Tornado is definitely aged poorly. That is the problem with some of these, and why some of these will not be put up in the S rank, A rank, or maybe even only make it so far up in the B rank, is that they feel dated. That maybe the technology, because Yes is such a progressive band, they'll be using all of the up-and-coming technologies and try their best to try the craziest new stuff and incorporate it and make it a masterpiece, which most of the time, as you can see up here in the S, A, and B section, they do really well, almost all of the time. But when they don't, it's not necessarily because the music isn't up to par. It might just be because it aged poorly. That's why I think 90125 is so much better than Big Generator. Because 90125, yes, it is very dated, and you can tell, oh, that's an 80s album. It's still very listenable today, and it has great, like, pop rock hits. Big Generator, however, suffers from the 80sification of the 80s, and it's very hard to listen to. A lot of the ones down here I didn't listen to as much throughout this past year, so I'm really going to be focusing on the ones that I did listen to a lot, which transitions me into talking about The Ladder, which I'm going to put up in B. I am going to put the Yes album right there. I'm going to put The Ladder up in B, maybe even higher than Keys. I'm treating Keys to Ascension 2 as Key Studio, so just so you know. But The Ladder, I think, is amazing. The title track, The Ladder or Homeworld, is, as I've said before, is a masterpiece. I think it is that was part of their resurgence in my eyes. Such a good song, New Language, Lightning Strikes, all off that album. Fantastic. I find myself listening to those all the time. And that's why my opinion of it has changed, and I'm bringing it up so much, is because of that. Just the re-listenability to all of these. And I find that very important in albums, is how much can I re-listen to it? If it comes up in a playlist, am I like, okay, maybe I'll save this for later when I'm in that right mind frame? And yes, that kind of is a problem with some of these up top, like Close to the Edge. I won't listen to it all the time, but then again, it's close to the edge, so what are you going to say about it? Like, I mean, it's just amazing. But yeah, the latter, I find re-listenability is so fantastic, and that's why I think I might even put it above Key Studio, Keys to Ascension 1 and 2, because Mind Drive is my favorite off of Key Studio, but it's not as re-listenable as, let's say, New Language, because I listen to that song fairly often. Drama. Here's where we get into something very interesting, is between Drama and Tales. Which one do I like better? Very hard to say. As of recently, in the past couple weeks, I'd say Drama. I kind of wrote off Machine Messiah for a while, and I didn't really listen to it since actually last year when I was listening to all of the albums. And I listened to it again very recently, and whoa, I don't know what I was missing out. That Tempest Fugit, I'm forgetting what the heck the other song is called. I'm gonna have to remind myself. It's not The Camera Eye. That is a Rush song. I forget. I will put it on screen. My mind is completely drawing a blank right now. But I'll put that up on screen. So I think Drama for right now is ahead of Tales, but it depends on my mood, or what I've listened to more recently. So that's what I'm going to go with because of my recency bias. Again, we just went over the Ladder and Keys to Ascension. And as I talked about before, how much I appreciate, the studio tracks off of Key Studio. Like, Mind Drive is, if you haven't seen my video on it, please go check it out, because I talk about it for a while. I don't want to take up that time repeating myself, but Mind Drive, wow. I'm going to put Open Your Eyes below these two, and I think I'm going to put Tornado above Fly From Here. I think that's what I'm going to do. Because Tornado, I did find some new appreciation for it. I don't think of it as bad as I did before, I don't think. And by bad, I don't mean, wow, this music sucks. It's just not as good as the rest, obviously. I mean, I shouldn't have to mention that, but I thought I would, just to put that in your mind. So yeah, I think this area of the tier list is looking pretty good, and my thoughts of it. I think most of this I'm going to keep, the Union and Big Generator. But here comes the resurgence of talk. And I know a lot of people that I've seen in my comment section and on the Facebook groups I'm a part of and on the Reddit pages, that people really love talk. And at first I didn't get it and I absolutely hated it, but it has definitely grown on me. And I think that I would put it here somewhere. It's here somewhere. I wouldn't dare put it any higher because I don't think of it as amazing. I really haven't listened to much off of this. Starting down from Talk downwards, I really haven't given these much of a second listen, besides Talk and Key Studio. So I'm not going to put too much thought into these ones or change it around too much, because I haven't listened to them much, so I don't really want to change my opinions, because my opinions are now 1 whole year old, and that good old memory of mine, I'm not entirely all there for most of these songs. So yeah, and here is where I'm going to throw in the new albums before. I don't know where I got this pencil from. I just picked up the pencil that was next to my desk. Okay. Okay. So here's where I'm going to throw in the new album, the new additions to this tier list, and then do a final reorder. And then to end it off. So Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, How. I'm going to put this above Fly From Here, but below Tornado. It could go somewhere within here. I listened to ABWH not too recently, maybe 3 months ago, something like that. So I think it deserves a spot right in the center because of how interesting it is, as in history. I love the album art on it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. As I forgot to touch on, there was one album. Where was it? Which one was it? I think it was The Quest, actually, which is a good transition, is I never really talked about the album art. I think it's absolutely fantastic. One of Roger Dean's best in the recent Yes and other group history. I don't know much about what Roger Dean has done with other groups, but I'm going to stick with my hollow opinion of this is very art good. That's my opinion right now. Nice. The Quest. This is where it gets interesting, where I don't know how to rank the Quest when it comes to the other albums. Where does it rank among everything else? Let's see. I'm going to put it in a similar vein to Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. I would say I like the Quest more than Talk. Is that accurate? I'd say I think of Talk and the Quest as very similar, and the fact that I think that there's some really good stuff in it that people, like me as I did with Talk in the beginning, kind of write it off very, very quickly. And I do think that is a mistake that I did rectify, thankfully. So I'm going to put the Quest there. I would say the Quest edges out Talk just a little bit more because of, maybe it might be recency bias. I could attribute it to that, but that's what I'm going to stick with because I like to give the Quest some love. Maybe it's because it's one of the only Yes albums that I have been really honed in on for its release, so maybe it's that. I'm not sure, but I really have found myself listening to Leave Well Alone, A Living Island, and The Ice Bridge a decent amount. And you know what? It's really warmed up on me, and I would say the Quest is solid. That's just kind of where I think I'm getting at. So, final little bits. I'm going to put Close to the Edge here. I'm going to put Relayer above Fragile. I'm going to keep the Yes album as number 1, I think. The problem is, with almost all of these, as I said before, you could exchange these in any way, and I wouldn't be very mad about it. So in the moment, I'm going to put Going for the 1 there. I love Magnification. I still think, as I've said in my previous videos, if you haven't listened to it recently, please, please, please do. And I really want there to be more people that appreciate this album as much as I do, because I think this is the best of Yes in the past 20 plus years. Besides that, The Ladder, I think, is the next best thing. And then Keys to Ascension, all really from the same era, all equally really good. But something about Magnification really stuck with me. Something that I felt similarly when I listened to all of these ones that I think we all can consider masterpieces. So there we go. Just a little quick side note of Return Trip. I'll put Return Trip lower than the original because I think the original vocals are better. Just throw that in there. I'm going to take it out just so you know, those are kind of my thoughts on it. So there, I think this is what we're looking at. Just a last little look over. I think that's it. The only other thing I might do would be move the Yes album up to a B rank. Maybe I'll do that. I think I can edge that out right there. I think that's it. I think we'll keep it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel for as long as you have, whether this be your first video of mine that you're watching, or you've been around since last year when I released that video. So I appreciate all of your support, whether old or new. Please be sure to share this video around. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me suggestions in the comments for what you want to see in the future. I'm planning on doing a video on the band Genesis very soon, as I've become a very recently big fan of them. So yeah, I appreciate all your support. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video, which is hopefully coming in less than a month's time. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.